welcome to, well, it's not Monday, but Money Mondays. It's Tuesday here when we're recording this. It's right after Memorial weekend. I'm your host, Kalisha, and I have my gorgeous co-host, Betzy. She's like all smiling and ready to go.
Hey everyone. I am so excited to be here and with our guest. And yeah, we missed you guys yesterday. It was like our live time and I was looking at the clock like,
Like, we don't have anything today. Not today. Let's just wait until Tuesday. And the funny thing is we still end up working.
yeah. We got a lot of stuff done, a lot of admin stuff. We got a new website, you guys. Oh, it looks so nice.
So good. And the thing is there were just no distractions. Like I wish we had a day where it's one public holiday each week. So we don't have to do like answer any phone calls. We it kind of forces you to do admin stuff.
Yeah. Although I had a phone call with somebody, so I already had that scheduled. So I already knew they were gonna be calling. But yeah, we tried. I know we talked about we were trying to reach out to new people, and they were all like enjoying time with their families. They did not answer
Yeah,
us.
everyone will be home because I think the last time, I think when it was July 4th last year or something like that, I ended up working and I was like, oh snap, a bunch of people are actually responding. So I'm like, yeah, but it seems like this holiday everyone was at a cookout or doing something.
Just out of it. I know. I was like, hey, like maybe I'll get lucky. And no one was responding.
Nothing, like no email response. I think give everyone maybe like by 12 o'clock today and they're all responding to text messages and emails and you're like, there you are. All right.
I already have my phone blowing up, so I'm just like one thing at a time.
Man, well, it's good that we both had like a great weekend, whether it was spending time with family or doing admin stuff for work. I was crazy. But thank you guys for tuning in, for everyone that's listening as well. Thank you for being here. We have a great guest today. We're all a part of the same high performance coaching program. He is freaking, I would say the other word, but he's freaking amazing, creative, and a genius and love what he does. But before we even get into it, Betsy would kill me.
Yes, we have to say our disclaimer. The following information that we talk about is only for educational purposes. Please do your own diligence. We do not provide financial, legal, or professional advice. Everyone that we have on here, we're on here to talk about what we have experienced, what we know to be true from our experience, but every deal, every experience, everyone is different. So please talk to the people who are certified and professionals and know what they're doing. If you need also access to people who do this, also let us know. We do bring them on here sometimes, and we'll have that for you guys.
And don't forget, guys, let us know what you think about this video. Like this video, comment, and also subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify or podcast or Apple Podcasts, wherever is it that you listen to your podcast, leave us a review. Let us know what you guys think about this episode. And let's just dive in. Let's welcome Jason to the screen.
Hi, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Just getting the day kind of started, getting busy.
Man, you see, like you popped up on the screen and both of our faces like lit up. We're like, ah!
Jason,
Nice.
I feel like you need like one of those wrestlers intro, like it's Jason Lombardi.
I should try to use that on the mixer board. If there's like an option for a sound effect, we could use that for Jason's intro. That would be amazing.
I know he needs it.
Let's do it.
That would be amazing. But Jason, I mean, Betsy and I, we know you. We know what you do. For persons who are not in SubTo, and SubTo is a creative mastermind that we're all a part of as well by Pace Morby. For persons who don't know you, like, who is Jason Lombardi?
Okay, my name is Jason Lombardi. I'm from Venice, Florida, and I mainly focus on wholesale. We have rentals and Airbnbs and all that stuff, but I mainly focus on wholesale. And our investment strategy is kind of out of the box.
Very out of the box. Tell us about that.
So we focus, well, we don't focus on drug houses, but it seems like they kind of find us. Like we mostly do referrals. We just started calling recently. It's only been a month and it's starting to get traction. It's good, but it's not as good as word of mouth. Like I'm still, all my best leads are still coming from referrals.
Mhm.
And typically it's kind of the same group of people. And we like I said, we do a lot of drug houses, and we know a lot of people in that world that can help us and make it easier. And for the last maybe 2 years, that hasn't been the focus, but it's been about a 50-50 between regular wholesale and then those type of houses.
Gotcha. The what piques my interest, like when I first learned about you, I was like, drug houses. I was like, what the heck? Like how? Like what? How did you get into that portion of it?
That's what I was
Uh,
gonna say. Wow.
I bought a house on a street, and it was the worst house in the street type thing. And we were gutting it, flipping it, and like every time I brought something outside, threw it away, I'd come out the next day and it would be gone. Like everything would be gone. And I'm like, who's taking this? And eventually I saw a guy taking it, and we were gutting the house, and I was like, you can just come in the house and take whatever you want. Just like take it out from here. You don't need to like wait. And the dude was sketchy. He was like a veteran, but he seemed okay. But he was like a little wiry crackhead type dude, and he lived down the street at the end of the street. And so I was like, something's up with this dude. And so I went down there. This was in August in Florida. So I go drive by the house. When I leave the flip, I work every night till about 9, and I leave, and I drive by. There's no lights on, and all the windows are open, and all I can see is like cell phone lights, and it looked like doozers from like Fraggle Rock, like everyone's walking around the house with like a light on, you
Yeah.
know. And so I was like, okay, like I can kind of see what's going on. At least I know they have no power.
Mhm.
And so the neighbors, I get to know the neighbors, and they're like, oh yeah, the neighborhood's super cool, but the house on the end of the street has been a drug house for like 20 years. 20 years, and this is in Venice. Like we have no drug problem like whatsoever. Like it's the
Yeah.
safest community of all time. And so long story short, I went down there and met with him. Hey, do you want to sell the house? He's like, yeah, right away. And then he says no, he doesn't want to sell it.
Hmm.
So we kind of went through a long process of trying to get it, and it was a 50-50 with him and his brother were on deed. And finally we got through court, and they had to end up selling it to us, and this guy had to sell it to us, and it just got real like ugly at the end. It got real ugly. But so the people that were there, like when we went to kick them out, like so basically we had to just do a eviction. They weren't leaving when we would just file a lawsuit or whatever. They just wouldn't leave. So it came to the point where we had to remove them. And the people that we removed, like I had seen these people a lot because we were doing the flip on the same street.
Yeah.
And this went on for months. And so it was like I'd seen them a lot. And so after we got them out, they pretty much, so we brought all the guy's stuff. So the guy, I didn't say this, but he went to prison in the interim for something horrific. And so he went to prison. So he was kind of out of the picture. So we were just dealing with all his friends. And so we put everything this guy owns out on the street in Florida. You have to do it for 24 hours. He can come back and get it. He's in jail. So it's like, it just basically all his friends came and stole all his stuff.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it was kind of shitty. But so we saw a truck going back and forth, and we just kind of followed the truck. The next house where it was dropping it off was like clearly another drug house, like clearly, and we were like, oh man, like they're just going from this house to the next one. And then we noticed there was 2 of them over there. So we're like, all right, because I didn't think like drug houses were a thing in Venice. But the more I've been doing this, they're everywhere. They're in every community, no matter where you live at some point, And so the next one, I had my eye on it for about 2 weeks. Someone gets murdered in the house, and I saw it on that app next door. The whole neighborhood's in an uproar, and so I call the lady She owned the house. She lived in California. She was kind of weird, artsy type lady. And I said, hey, you know, someone died in your house. Like, what are you doing? This is a rental. She argued with me. You know, he died outside. It wasn't in the house, you know. And I'm like, either way, you had someone like die on the property.
On the property.
Yeah, yeah, you know. And so she wanted to sell to me, and then she gave someone else the contract right at the last second. And then the guy couldn't fulfill, he couldn't come up with the money. So it came right back to me. And then she finally sold to me. We got it at a smoking deal, and I just immediately wholesaled it. And so anyway, we get the people out of that house. And then there's another house that was about 3 streets over, which we kind of already knew about at this point, and they just gravitated right to that house. The guy that owned that house owned it free and clear, and he was kind of like a weird dude. Like, he liked, I don't think he did drugs, but not to the extent they did. I think he liked having all the young kids around and being like, it was just a weird guy. And so we tried to buy his house. It didn't work out. Some random flippers from out of town bought it. They paid way too much. They lost their shirt. So it was like, I wasn't willing to pay too much. And so I'm on Nextdoor again, this app. It's like pretty much it's in my neighborhood. Everyone like complains on the app about dogs barking and double parked cars and just nothing, you know what I mean? And so someone posted a picture of this guy, and it was like kind of like a newspaper clipping, and it said, police visit house like 100 times in the last 3 months. And so I was like, what? You know? And I was like, I'm going to door knock that tomorrow. Right. So immediately I go there, and as I walk up, the door's already open, and this guy's like fixing a bicycle or something. And so I meet him. He was like a hardened criminal. The more I got to know him, he's the scariest guy I've ever met. But at this point, I didn't know that. And he's a small guy, very deceiving. And so I just basically told him, like, hey, yeah, I come to buy the house. You know, are you thinking about selling it? I talked to him for about 10 minutes, and then I realized he's not the owner.
Oh, shit.
So I'm like, okay. So the owner had been 5150, like he was in jail for like a crazy charge or whatever he did. And so basically, like, I don't know, a week later, he's back. I meet him. He wants to sell. And so when he was gone in jail, basically they took over his house. And that's pretty much how these houses go. Like, once the owner's gone, everyone just squats basically until it falls apart. And so we had a deal, and it was intense. Like, the whole deal was crazy. It was the most active house I've ever been in. That was like, usually they're not bad, you know what I mean? You're just deal with people, but this had people in and out all day. There was a guy selling meth actively. They were cooking it. So it was like, most of our houses aren't like that. They're just like selling it or taking it, you know? So that one turned into like a total nightmare, like ridiculous. But so this house had everyone coming in and out, an active house, drug dealers, like I knew them all. And so that house, I met like probably 25 good contacts that were in that community, in that type of life. And so I gave everyone $1,000 for a lead. For some people, $1,000 is a lot of money, you know? And so we started doing it like that, and immediately they were like, oh, I know there's another one. I know where there's another one. And so we got another one literally within like 4 days in the same neighborhood. And the same exact people between the two houses. And so
they're like your bird dogs.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're all cool. And meth's a weird drug. It's like they all regret doing it, or my experience, what I see is they all kind of regret doing it. They're not real crazy. It's not like other drugs where, like, you know, people are insane. So we had a lot of intel. They helped us a lot. The people really did. They helped us a lot. And kind of getting across the finish line, knowing who is dangerous, who's not, like who we can push, who we can't. And so that helped. So those were the two of the hardest houses I've ever done. It was right before the Clever Summit. And so I was kind of in like at a low after that. And I had made the most money I'd ever made, but I was like at a low. I'd seen too much in like a short time span, you know.
That is a lot. Because I would maybe shit my pants.
I know when we were, I mean, the one of the first times I saw you in person, Jason, it was when you were starting to talk about all of these things, and we were like, oh my gosh, it is a lot.
It is.
Yeah, it can be heavy. It's like it's not fun to talk about, and people do weird things. So we bought those two houses. I closed on them right before Clever, and so it was weird. It was like the most money I'd ever made, but like the shittiest like I'd ever felt, and not because I felt bad for the people. I think I helped them because they were in foreclosure. I gave one guy, after everything was said and done, he ended up with like 300 grand. This is a dude that's never had like a dollar in his life,
Wow.
and, you know, long story short, he immediately went back to jail, just couldn't deal with the money and whatever. And so my point is after that, now we know all these people fairly well. And then they just keep the leads coming. And it was like, boom, boom, one after another. And it was good. In those houses, like I'm pretty upfront with people. Like, hey, I got to make a certain amount or I'm not going to get involved. And then they go, I don't want to pay that. Like, that's outrageous. And I said, okay, well, then I guess you're going to call a realtor, like they can't do that.
Yeah.
And so it's like a two-way street for us. It's risky. And there's a lot that goes along with it, but we can get it done as to where no one else is gonna. And the neighbors support us. Like, in this particular neighborhood, they really didn't because they had dealt with this for so long. But in most neighborhoods, I door knock everyone and I say, hey, listen, we're going to buy the house next door. This is what we do. I need you to call me if anything shows up, or if you have any problems, let me know. Or if, my guys are making noise, whatever, let me know. And the community is really supportive because everyone who wants a meth house next to them.
But yeah, everyone wants to uplift their community, so
Yeah.
Right.
support you 1,000%.
Yeah. So you can get them involved, and some people are really involved. Oh, I see him go here. I saw him do this. And then some people don't say anything, but for the most part, it's positive. And but it can be either way. And sometimes people connect me with them, like they don't believe I'm an investor.
Mhm.
And like when I go to these houses, I dress like just in a t-shirt and shorts. I'm not a realtor or nothing, And so sometimes they're not sure like who's who, but understandable, And so that was pretty much how we did it. And I've told the story 100 times. Like my trash man, I tell him, hey, if you ever see like certain amount of trash outside, text me a picture, send me the address, I'll go look at it. And my pizza man, his kid Stoner, he's probably like 22. He knows every trap house in Venice. And I never thought about this. And I was like, of course he does. He's a pizza delivery man, And so he really like took me off. Like he knew them all.
Yeah.
He wasn't involved with them, but he knew where they were at. Like he could locate them. And so he gave us a lot of leads, like right all at once. And then he moved to Minnesota or somewhere. And then so we got a lot of leads from that. So all of our leads come from kind of wherever. But
so apart from wholesaling, have you kept anything for rental or fix and flip them?
yeah, we bought a house off a guy in prison. It was it's right on the harbor in Venice, and we got it pretty much half price, but it needed a good amount of work. And but we did 3 flips last year. We bought 3 Airbnbs and a couple rentals along the way, maybe 7 or 8 houses, but I owned them very short term.
How do you decide which ones you're keeping and which ones you're wholesaling?
I just wholesale everything I can, and I have a lot of regrets with houses I wholesaled, but it got me so much capital so fast that it was like how like when you own too many houses, you're like house poor. You have too many mortgages. Your overhead's 20 grand a month just on mortgages. And right now, our Airbnbs aren't really full because it's summer here. Like Venice is very seasonal, and so yeah, it can be difficult. But I keep them just based on if I like the house or the property. Pretty much anything we can get seller finance, I just buy. SubTos, I'm hit or miss on those. Sometimes I want them, sometimes I don't.
With those like creative deals, like how do you structure the funding for those?
So we did one. So this was kind of a cool one. So this lady, she had died. She was married to this guy for like 10 years.
Mhm.
And she was like, I don't know, 60, 70 or something like that. And her husband had just died and he was the same age. So he had like older kids that were like 40, And so when he died, he left everything to the lady. And they were terrorizing the mother or the lady, the wife, and saying, hey, like they didn't think she should have got everything. They thought that they should have got half or whatever they thought. And so she was like, he left it to me. This is all mine. That's what he wanted to do. It was in the will. And so they were really pressuring her to give them money. And so basically, she was like, I digress. So I didn't tell you, this was across the street from one of the meth houses, the first one we did. So when we bought that house, I told you I door knock everyone, and I had met her. And so when I first met her, she's a single lady. She was like, these people have been terrorizing me for years. I live here alone. You know what I mean? They've stolen my grill. They steal my grandkids' bikes. They've stolen everything. They're knocking on the door at 3 a.m. So when we took care of that house, she was like, oh my God, like no one could believe it. And so anyway, she called me. She called me. I never called her. And then she kind of told me the situation she was in. And I said, okay, so do you want me to like take care of the kids? Like, what are you asking me? You know? And sure, you know? And she was like, well, I can't list the house because they'll see it and they'll like lose their mind if I list it. And so she was like, you said you could buy houses like off market cash or whatever. And so the house was worth about 500. I said, I'll give you 3 cash. And she was like, the money is not so important to me. I guess he left her a lot of money too. So she wasn't like hard up for money for the most part, you know? And so I was like, I can give you more if you'll sell or finance it. And she was like, explain it to me, explain it to her. And she was like, yeah, sure. Like, whatever. And like that easy. And I was like, okay. I didn't even know how to like use a financial calculator. And she was like, well, how much you paying me? And I was like, I'll pay you over the 300. So I paid her 325, and the house was worth about 5.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of just, and so anyway, she had run it by her people, her attorney, all this and all that. And I was like, it's never going to make it, you know, how they all want you to send them a contract. We're never going to close this thing. Miracle, the thing closes. And she gives me 2.5% interest and 25 grand down. So we had a 300K loan. And that was the first one. And that's our biggest producer to this day is an Airbnb. It's a big house. It's nice. It's new. It's in excellent condition. And that was like kind of what got the deals, the gears moving for like seller finance. I go towards seller finance because SubTos there's a lot of stuff that comes along with them, but seller finance is simple. You can wrap it, you can do whatever you want. And you know, it's just cleaner, like you said.
Yeah, it's way easier to structure. I mean, like we all had when we were at our KOP retreat, we had a conversation about cross collateralization. Now, I've heard that term like thrown around all the time. And then when I heard your perspective and how you structured these with it, I was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, how is this even possible? So, what I want you to explain is for those who don't know, what is cross collateralization and how do you incorporate that into your business?
So basically, you know, a hard money loan, you get a loan on the property. So whatever you have for equity, you get a loan on the property. And so say you're buying a 300K house, they might give you, I don't know, 200 or whatever they think is fair. And then you always have this gap. And so if you want to fund a flip or something, now you're going to come up with 100 grand or the level of your flip, 50 grand, 70 grand. So I have free and clear houses. So they would put the loan on the other house. And so collateralize it against a separate property that was free and clear. Now they're in first position and they'll 100% fund me because the house is worth about 400K. And so for instance, right before Christmas, I bought a house I had to close on. I had to close it. I couldn't sell it quick enough to wholesale it because it was Christmas and there was like no buyers around. And it was just kind of a weird time. And I had such a smoking deal that I was like, I'm just buying it. I'll figure it out. And so I call my guy immediately. Yep, no problem. I'm going to throw the loan on this property and we'll go from there. And so he funds me immediately. And I think all his money is out of an IRA, but he cross collateralizes it to other properties. And he's like super cool. Like he's very flexible. He'll cross collateralize anything. But now I have a bunch of loans with him, but all my loans are like with one guy. It's not like I have 5 lenders or I have institutional money where you got deadlines and all that. And it's easier to get money quick when you have an established relationship.
Yeah.
And that's like the big thing.
So then when you borrow funds from that one guy, you just put the loan on the properties that you own free and clear.
Yeah, and he would rather do that than a property that we're flipping, because that's kind of speculative, and he knows the other one is free and clear and he's in first position. So if anything goes wrong, he can just take care of it with that property. And he's almost covered by double. Like the loan was 200. Our house was worth about 4 roughly.
So you're saying, like, instead of going out and getting a loan from the bank, you're getting a private money lender?
Yeah. And he can fund and like as fast as you can close it. So as fast as we can get someone to write the note, like we always pay an attorney to write the note. It's his attorney. And we pay him to write the note. That takes a day or so. And then we just close it. And it really depends how quick we can run title. And it's really fast right now.
Yeah, man, that is like, I'm happy you even brought up the using an attorney to draft the note, because when you're working with someone who's that experienced as well, you don't want to keep like drafting the note and the paperwork yourself, because then more than likely they have their attorneys going to be reviewing it. So if you go the cheap route, their attorney is going to have so many feedback, like you need to change this, change that. So might as well you just pay someone,
right,
professional, to get it done. So I like that you did that as well. What would you say would be like some of the risks, or if you've ever experienced like maybe a pitfall or something as it relates to cross collateralization?
Risk and benefit.
Yeah.
The benefits is you can get money really fast and you can get multiple loans. And depending on how many properties you have a lot of properties. So say your portfolio is worth $1 million, basically you have about 1.75 million and you can buy up in properties, as long as those are free and clear.
Mhm.
And the downside is like, we're trying to refi some right now. And it's like, it's just a pain. You got to take them apart. You got to like pay it off to kind of get it out. And I'm learning all this kind of like on the fly. And I lend money too, not a lot. I use the same attorney he does. And so it's like, I'm kind of just following his model. And I just have some like IRA money I can't do anything with. So I just lend it out here and there. But the downside is like when you go to refi, now you're just dealing with a guy. So it's like the mortgage company wants to talk to him. They have like a, whatever their requirements are. It's not like he's responding in 5 minutes or it's a corporate type thing. And so it's a little more difficult, but and he's in first position. So it's like there's a little more jumping through hoops to get refied, but I'm doing 2 right now and it seems to be going good. He's, communicating with the loan company and that's it. But it's like, it's a quick way to get money and like you can get it in days instead of, weeks.
See, that's a good thing. It kind of goes back to what you mentioned, relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You have a relationship with him, because I think for some persons as well, like a lender, if they have to be like dealing with the bank and back and forth, you may have to be hunting them down. Hey, did you see this email? Can you call with the bank?
Yeah.
I feel like this lender is like, he's pretty, he's working with you, which is amazing.
Right. And he's a money lender too. So he's in that same world they are. He knows like what he's got to provide. He knows the lingo. He gets it,
Man, how did you find this guy?
I know. He's proactive here.
I can't. Oh, you know how it was? I bought a house for sale by owner and I talked to the guy. I had no money. And this was actually, I lied. This was my first owner finance deal. This was probably like 8 years ago. And it was on Zillow or Craigslist. I think it was on Craigslist. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know. I was asking him all kinds of dumb questions. He's like a real high level guy. And he like almost felt bad for me. And he was like, it doesn't work that way. Like you like get out of here, And I was this really persistent and I wanted to learn from him more than anything. And when I first moved to Florida, like we moved from Massachusetts to move to Florida to get into real estate. That was our main driver.
Wow.
So for like a year, I spun my wheels and I got like a job and it was just a waste of time. And then when I got into investing, it just really took off quick.
Man, this is like, it's an example. It's the perfect example of how you can get creative.
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned, I always heard like Hardman lenders talk about cross collateralization and everything. But I never like went deep into it because I'm like, this can get too technical. Apart from refinancing, let's say you cross collateralize a property with
Yeah.
a private money lender, and you don't refinance. How do you repay? Tell us another way you exit to repay that PML.
Like I said, the one at Christmas, I bought it for 200K.
Yeah.
I knew I would get 250 on a wholesale deal. So I took it down. I had it for I think 2 weeks, and then I sold it at 250, and it just repays him at closing. And so it's simple. And I always close with the same lady, so she knows like all my deals, who my lenders are. Super simple. And that was kind of the key to the team too, is when you get someone that understands what you're doing and what's involved. So on a side note, we've had some crazy closings where like these people come to the closing and it just turns into something we didn't think. It's just you never know what's going to happen. But so she makes it easy. A lot of people aren't willing to do that. A lot of title companies aren't about that, bringing those type of people there. And when they're real crazy, we send a notary. We've learned our lesson,
And you feel them out because you've met them before.
Yeah. And we had one house that was a major problem, and it turned into like he trashed the whole title place. And it was a title issue. So I was like, this was a title issue. You know what I mean? Like it had nothing to do with me. We all knew the guy was very volatile. Like we knew that, and I don't know, do your work. I don't know how to word it, but it was like, it was a title issue. It had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And he went berserk and just went berserk in the place. And they tried to get me to pay for it. And I was like, this was a title issue as far as I'm concerned, and it was kind of a shitty thing that happened, but it was like it got resolved, but he went berserk and he got arrested and all that,
That's insane.
That's
So would you count that as a risk? Like would it be like a issue that could come up for your lenders?
I guess it could, but my lender knows me well enough. He knows that well, think if you're cross collateralizing.
Mhm.
If I'm buying a drug house, but I got it collateralized by one of my Airbnbs, like which one would you rather have the loan on?
Oh, the Airbnb.
Yeah.
So for him, sometimes he's like, there's no way I'm lending on that thing. I'll throw a loan on this and then fund that, And so it works in some circumstances. And if you get a really terrible flip, they don't believe in it. They don't believe in you, or they don't know you well enough. Sometimes it's just if they don't know you well enough, it gives you the opportunity to still fund stuff just because you have free and clear properties here or there. And sometimes if people will do equity, say if you have 50 grand in equity, they'll lend you 50 grand or depending, it's usually a percentage. It's usually 75, 80%.
That's
Less like, but if you have a 400K asset, you're only asking for 200. I always get 100% funding.
They're back.
Yeah. It's like they're safe, and so that's pretty much how it works. And it's works for me and it works for him. And he gets paid really fast and he likes that. And it's like, the name of the game is burn and turn when hard money. You just want those 2 points up front. And then whatever you get, the rest is the rest, And so, yeah, he's got no complaints.
Man, Jason found his niche, you guys. He found it. He's not like chasing every little thing out there. He's like, oh, I got the formula.
Well, he said, his niche found him.
Yeah.
You just rinse and repeat. Like that is amazing. Now, for what advice or tip would you give to anyone, whether they're new or experienced, who's looking to raise capital for their real estate projects?
If you're in the beginning, you can, if you're taking down house to seller finance or something, this is how I do it. When I lend money, so say the asset's 300K, they owe 220. They think they have 80K in equity. But do you? And I said, well, if you were to sell this house, that's 24K, closing costs, commissions. So really you have about 50K in equity and not 80. So that's how I lend. I always say, if we had to liquidate this property, how much would you end up with? Because it's not 80K.
Mhm.
So, but in the beginning, is finding someone you can trust that believes in you and sees your deals. And I dig deep on deals, like usually 40, 50K is like a fee. And when you have a fee with that much room, it's kind of hard to screw up the deal. And you know what I mean? So it's like, he believes in me. He see in every deal, he's like, how'd you get this at this price? And I was like, it was just kind of circumstances. They need to get paid quick, or, you know, it was a problem, or their divorce or whatever. But I'd say at a drug houses, we don't do a ton of them, maybe 5 to 7 a year, but that's a lot in my book, you know, and the rest is just all wholesale, another 20, 30 properties in wholesale. So it's good.
That is like really good. Like you were talking, and I came up with a great another question. That this question was for me, and now I totally forgot about it because I'm like,
Gotta write them down.
this is
Yeah.
like, Jason, this was like really good. We're so happy that you said yes to being on
Yeah.
Monday Mondays.
Thank you.
Definitely.
It was very eye-opening, and I hope that our listeners or viewers, wherever you're watching this or listening, that you guys found value in what Jason was talking about. I know it can be a lot just because of the word cross-collateralization itself, but I would just highly recommend like rewatching the episode and doing more research. And if you guys have questions, you can reach out to Jason. Jason, what's the best way for persons to reach out to you?
It's every day I'm Hudslin, HUDSLING on Instagram. And or you can send me in Messenger. Just send me a message. Most people kind of reach out to me through Messenger.
And we'll put Jason's contact in
In the description. It'll be down there for you guys.
This has been good. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. And I'm your host, Alicia, and my gorgeous host, Betzy. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you guys.